Welcome to Faith, Love, and Therapy, a podcast to encourage and inspire. I'm your host, Jamie Johnson, therapist working in the field of mental health for the last 10 plus years. I am excited about spiritual and emotional wellness, and I'm grateful today for a guest that is also excited about emotional wellness. And I'm here this morning with Miss Raquel of Hope, Change, Inspire. I want to get it in the right order because I think it's important. Hope, Change, Inspire. And her platform is doing wonderfully. And I wanted just to sit down and talk with her today. And I'm excited. So Raquel, if you will tell the audience just a little bit about yourself and about the platform that you have. Wherever you want to start.
Okay, so yes, like she said, my name's Raquel. I'm the founder and organizer of Hope, Change, Inspire, which is a New York-based organization that's for any really big mental health advocacy, but for homelessness prevention, suicide prevention, human trafficking, education, awareness, really, and addiction too. Because I'm working towards my KSAC, which is certified alcohol substance abuse counselor trainee. And so that's something I specialize in. And also as a counselor, I'm a therapist. I specialize in trauma and sexual exploitation. And then also like I said, one of the passions of mine, one of the reasons the organization's around is for human trafficking awareness. And I worked with some law enforcement down in Mississippi about the dangers of human trafficking and what can we do that would be better. So then I got a human trafficking investigator certificate.
Oh,
So that was one of my biggest accomplishments. I think I
that's
was like, yeah, I definitely was so thankful that I had that opportunity. And yeah, so this organization just keeps on growing, and I'm so thankful for that. And I just really want to spread advocacy, hope, because when we have hope, we have a future.
yeah.
And I think that's so important to remember, and that there's a possibility of change. Yesterday doesn't determine tomorrow, like how you're doing today. And then inspire is just to inspire others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It's one of my favorite words. When we think about what you want to leave behind.
Mhm.
And encouragement is one of those, and inspiration is one of those for me. Yeah. Yeah. How long has your foundation, how long have you been doing this work?
Oh wow, I think 2019. I know it says it on my profile picture there, but I think it was established in 2019.
Gotcha.
So yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been around for a while, just before COVID hit.
Oh,
That's
wow.
Yeah, so that's when it started.
Mhm.
And then for a while I got so busy with school, I wasn't paying so much attention to it. But now after school's done,
Mhm.
I'm back at it. So yeah, I'm really thankful for like all the connections that I've made through it too. Like for you, for instance, like sharing common interests with therapy and ministry and faith, and also just been able to do some outreach with it, which I'm trying to, boost. So new
Absolutely.
year, new
Yeah,
things.
that's right. Was
Mhm.
there was there something that just kind of catapulted you into this area, or do you feel like it has been something on your heart? What, because there's so many heavy hitters, right? Trauma, I mean,
Mhm.
which umbrella of trauma, but homelessness and sex trafficking, all of those are really heavy,
Mhm.
areas of focus. And so when you think about all of those, is there something that just kind of drives you or has led you to focus in on these areas of need?
That is a great question. I was actually having this discussion with a coworker the other day,
Mhm.
and I think one thing kind of just led to another. So I took a course, like an introduction course in sexual trauma, which
Mhm.
led to want me to learn more about, okay, well, wow, what else is there? So then I would take like Arizona Trauma Institute is great for like extra like certifications and everything. So then I went on there to look more into what sexual exploitation is, sex trafficking, human trafficking. That's really what got me started into like, oh my gosh, how can I fix this? Not that I'm a fixer. Like that's I guess an issue with the therapy. I'm a fixer. So,
Here, yeah.
I'm like, what can I do about this? So then also I live in New York City, like right outside. So when it's I used to live off of Jamaica, not live, sorry. Used to work off of, almost moved there, Jamaica Avenue in Queens. And um just there's a lot of areas that I don't think people realize where human trafficking happens so often. And like there was a motel by me that just got busted for human trafficking, and it's been there forever. And it's like, so thankfully they got busted, but it happens in our backyards, especially over in New York. And I feel like people don't realize that. So that's definitely one of my jobs, to be like, hey, um, and then I worked a little bit for a foundation that I love, Doc Ellis Foundation. They work with missing persons that can be, from human trafficking or whatnot. They're great, but unfortunately, my schedule did not align with what I could do. But shout out to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's, I mean, that kind of experience walking, it's kind of like you walked into it. It's the different
Yes.
steps like started to open up the door, started to open up, as we say. And I think that helps to really expose or help you to see something that is for you, right? As it just kind of like unfolds.
Mhm.
But you mentioned like hotels nearby, and
Mhm.
that's, I think that's hard where it's like in plain sight. I think that's what I hear often, like
Mhm.
you don't see it, but it's
Mhm.
happening around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and most of us, so we need you to bring awareness to kind of what we're supposed to be looking for,
Mhm.
because this is a topic that, and I think a movie, right? Did it come out this year?
Sound of Freedom, that movie.
Right. Was that
Yeah.
this year or this year?
This year, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Freedom came out, and so there was more dialogue. I've
Mhm.
noticed more dialogue about that. um, but also when you say the connection, homelessness and the studying that you're doing, help us see the connection between homelessness and sex trafficking.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, I made connections through like Hope Change Inspire as well in terms of homelessness and addiction advocacy. And so what I've noticed a lot with the homeless population, at least with um like where if I would just take the train into Grand Central or wherever it may be, that a lot of them are just like, it's almost like the system failed them. It's just dealing with and coping with mental health without the proper tools. And so I've met some wonderful people. And then when I went to, and then human trafficking comes into that, especially if it's homeless youth,
Mm.
because that's where the pimps are like, wow, here's a opportunity of a really vulnerable person that doesn't have a house, that doesn't have money. I could promise them a great job. I could promise them a wonderful place to live. But then they make it as in like, oh, well, you live here, so you have to pay me back money. And then this is a way you could do it. I'm going to just stay in this hotel room. I'm going to book appointments for you. And so that's how it especially can go for youth. Then as someone also grows older, prostitution can, whenever there's a demand, there's going to be pimps trying to get money from it. So even with prostitution, and even with, I mean, I know this is kind of sidetracking a little bit, but even with OnlyFans, I feel like people think that that would never happen with that. But there's been stories too, most recently I read, where there's, unconsensual, like, this is kind of getting dark, sorry,
It's
dark,
okay.
like rape, happening, and then OnlyFans allows it to upload to the platform. But back to which is dangerous. So back to like the homelessness relationship to human trafficking. So I went up to Kensington. I don't know if you're familiar with like it's a huge fentanyl and trank epidemic up there. And so I did some outreach with these wonderful people up there, part of a church, and I love them so much. And so each time I like went up there, you see, of course, the uh, homelessness struggle there, and then also addiction on top of that. How are people paying for addiction? Their supply to feed their addiction,
Right.
and then for women and men, can lead to pimps being vulnerable. All right, here you go. And the pimps supply the drugs too. So that's how it kind of all relates, which
Yeah.
is very, very sad.
It is. It sounds like a very vicious cycle because once the addiction is there, there's
Mm-hmm.
the need to continue in order to maintain, getting high, and then the pimp knows that and just kind of continue the cycle. What do you notice helps to break that cycle?
What I notice: love, kindness, and compassion, understanding. No, not the, especially if you're coming at it from a Christian perspective, definitely not the you're sinning, you're going to hell. Like that's
Right.
just not going to work.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen, that does not work. You need to show so I like to say like I'm a Christian first before I'm, a therapist or this. So when I come into circumstances where I'm, talking with someone that's homeless or someone that's struggling with housing or addiction, or they're have to unfortunately make money, and a lot of what the women do are selling
Yeah.
themselves, which also it's I just think about how this is who I'll maybe judge. Okay, I'll judge the people that are like, I'm gonna go and pay for that really vulnerable person. That's when I'm like,
Yeah.
what. So but what helps break the cycle is definitely the love, showing that they're loved, that they're worthy, because they're being told over and over again that they're nothing, they're worthless, and just making sure you boost their self-esteem, self-confidence up, and know that God loves them.
Yeah.
You know,
Are they receptive when you start out with "I am a Christian"? Are they are they receptive generally, typically to that?
if you are showing love, I
Okay.
definitely notice that. So if I'm in a circumstance, and I remember I'll never forget this. There's this guy. He had just gotten surgery on his back because he had an infection from injecting
Mm.
fentanyl trank there. It's horrible what it can do to your body. And so we were giving away Bibles along with clothes, food. They brought 2 barbecues up there. I was like, whoa, you guys did a lot. So, that group was awesome. But yeah, so he said, hey, I'm sorry. He came back and he returned the Bible. He's like, I can't on my back, it's too much. And God's works in weird ways sometimes, because I was like, wait, I have a pocket Bible on me. And he was like, you do? Thank you. Like he was just so excited because he wanted to learn, he wanted to read more. And so
Yeah.
there are people that are definitely receptive, and especially when you're showing with love, care, and also permission. Can I pray for you, instead of
Mm. Mm.
I'm gonna just pray, just the can I, and most of the time it's yes.
Yeah.
I've had one no out of many, many people, and
Yeah.
which is fine. I respect it. I don't know what religious trauma they have,
Right.
they might. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. That's big. I love the idea of permission, right? I mean, we can do our silent prayers, we can do all of that, but that permission to connect and not forcing ourselves
Mhm.
on people, especially populations that are very vulnerable. and
Yeah.
are and anticipate being taken advantage of. I
Mhm.
think the idea of being able to say, is this something that you want, goes deeper than just, it's love, but it's like, it's love and I see you. I see that you have the right to choose
Mhm.
whether or not you want to engage with me.
Mhm.
And so I feel like that's a deeper love. That's kind of like not just that surface. I want to make sure you're okay. It's that I want to make sure that this is okay with you
Yeah.
inside. So I love that. I think talk to me a little bit about your faith journey, because I don't know. I think about me in certain environments and I'd probably be crying, or I'd be like, okay, I gotta.
There's been times where I've definitely gone home and cried, or if someone was sharing their story, I'm trying to,
Yeah.
but sometimes I'm like, excuse me, let me just,
Mhm.
I might cry a little bit right now, just fair warning, but to them. Uh yeah, so I think I'm a very like, all right, this is the problem. Of course with empathy and compassion, but let's go see what the solution could be.
Yeah.
And so one step at a time. Um so I don't get too overwhelmed with an environment that I'm in. And then I was also talking to my coworker about this the other day too. I said, like, what's some of your self-care?
Mm,
You
mm,
know, and he said that he's learned to just give it to God at the end of the day and say, I did everything I could do.
yeah.
Mm. And now I'm not God. I'm just gonna say, hey God, this is what I'm working with, and then pray for them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I tend to do it, like on my way back. I, do my silent prayers, like you said, silent prayers, um yeah, just making sure that um as long as I keep God before me,
Hmm.
I don't try to control so much of the outcome,
Mm, mm,
and that'll because then that's when I get really like, why is it not happening this way? And so I have to make sure God's like there.
yes. Yes. That he is leading. We're following. Yeah. Yeah. Were you raised Christian? Were you have has this been your story always?
Oh, I love this question. I love sharing my faith story. Because one of my goals on this planet is to help as many people come to, well, of course, it'd be all God's work, but go to, God, and have their belief. So, um, so yeah, my dad and mom were definitely in the religion. I think it started off as the tradition because I was raised Catholic. So I had to go through all the steps. And one day, what hit me was I was in line to get like my confirmation, part of the Catholic tradition. And there's this girl, like we were graduating from the confirmation. We completed all the sacraments and whatnot. And there's this girl behind me that would bully. I think I was in middle school or high school, around there. There's this girl behind me waiting online who would just bully me ruthlessly. And I was like, I don't understand. I was like a little kid, like why is she, going through all this, but she's like really mean. Like, so I was like, I don't want to be that person. I was like, that is not who I want to be. I want to be a Christian. I want to show that I love people and that I have my moments where I get frustrated. I do. I'm definitely not perfect, but um that was like a key moment in faith of how I wanted to live. And then I went to I went to a Christian college, and for my master's I didn't finish there because I absolutely did not like it. I saw so much judgment down there. There was so much just like unacceptance. I like just
Yeah.
it really frustrated me. Then I decided, like, so that I experienced like a lot of church hurt from that. Thankfully through, and then another experience with church hurt, but thankfully, like, I am so thankful that none of those experiences affected my faith, because like God was reminding me that these are people, they're part of this like fallen world, and it's not me. I would never do this to you, you know? So I just always kept my faith. I am so thankful right now where I found a church that I feel at home with. I got baptized there. And also, sharing your testimony can be so powerful if like who's ever listening, if they feel like, man, maybe I don't want to share it. It could be so impactful. I remember, but that's kind of how I felt at first. But when I shared my testimony, this man came up to me afterwards and was like, "Thank you. Like my son, he was on the fence, but now, now he believes." And
Wow.
I was, that felt God. But that's just shows like testimonies are so powerful.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's and it's interesting your awareness, right? Your awareness at that young age. I was talking to my mom actually yesterday, because I had asked her a question and trying to remember back when I was younger, if like we were attending children's church or did we stay in church? It was the question that I had asked her. And she was like, no, for the most part, y'all were in service with us, that type of thing. Because it came from a discussion about children's faith formation, right? And that, like that 12 and 13-year age is kind of where they may start to fall away, where we typically think that it's happening more when they like go to college and they're exposed, but there's the opportunity in that window
Mhm.
they could begin to fall away and think and not believe anymore. And it's kind of solidified by 16 is what they say. Not solidified, but kind of takes hold by 16 of like, no, I don't really believe.
Mhm.
And I think that age, like your awareness at that age of, because that is middle school, right? That's tortured years. Middle school is tortured years
Yeah.
where there's absolutely the opportunity to say, you must not be real because I'm going through a whole lot.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think they're so vulnerable, right? And so having that, being able to have that awareness of like why and ask instead of just observing and saying, well, this must be wrong, and I think it's so amazing that we're having this dialogue and I had that conversation yesterday because it's almost like confirmation, right? There's a moment when you're very young in that period of time where it can go left or right.
Mhm.
And we're just thinking, oh, they're fine. They're going to do what they see.
Mhm.
But you saw more than just like the class. You saw, why is this person who is so mean like in the same line? But God's, I mean, his love is just so that the fact that he literally chases us down. Like,
He
don't
does, yeah.
he's like, no, 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 don't think that. He chases us down. But I just wanted to draw attention to that, like that moment for our listeners, because that's probably a lot of people's story, right? Is that there's a moment where something is happening that we're
Mhm.
questioning, is this true? Is this real? Are you true? Are you real? And I think I see that a lot, and I'm going to turn it over to you in a minute, but I see that a lot in practice, um, with younger people. I don't see as many young people, but with younger people for sure. But then I'm also seeing it in, you mentioned church hurt, in this population that has grown up and known church, like they've been in church, their parents have been in church, their grandparents have been there, and they're questioning because of their mental health, they're questioning because of their experiences, they're questioning because of the people that are in church and have treated them a certain way. And so I'm wondering, like in your practice and with the populations that you serve who have the absolute, justifiable reason to say there cannot be a
Mhm.
God because look at my life.
Mhm.
How do you remain in that place of just like certainty and convey that? How do you do that?
I like that. You're asking a lot of good questions. I like this. Um, how do I convey that? Okay. So I definitely pray before,
Yes.
I'm doing something like major like that. And I say, God, just give me the tools that I need. Um, be with me, guide me, um, help me say whatever needs to come out of my mouth to help them. If it's very like very touchy circumstances where, because there will be people that say, this happened in church, and then that's sometimes where I'll give my disclosure, and I'll say, if I feel it's appropriate, I'll say, maybe if I'm outside of the counseling like room and session and I'm out like on the streets, then I'll share more. But even even inside the sessions, I'll disclose if I feel like that's something that they could benefit from, and that it'll help the client realize, like, okay, maybe not every human is horrible. Maybe there's these people that are not nice at all. And so yeah, and then also working outside the counseling. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. I apologize. Okay. And then sometimes outside of the counseling session, that's where they're very, 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 and also being open about church hurt. It also is, they're being vulnerable when they're saying that. So I very much so appreciate when people talk about it. Um, Thankfully, some churches are starting to now, but we can't ignore it anymore. It's happens. No church is perfect, so
Mhm.
you just, because of the people in there, and so yeah, so I'll just approach with love. I know I keep on repeating that, but really that's what I need to do. I need to just
Sure.
make sure there's love,
Yeah.
understanding. Hey, if you feel strongly about uh this subject, we don't have to, I don't have to pray for you right now if you don't want. I don't, I'm not going to force you to take a Bible, like, and that's also, that's not the like full discussion also. So we're not like, here take the Bible, here listen to my preaching. It's just wanting to show love, and if they want to, then I invite them if they'd like to pray or take a Bible or take a little pamphlet thing. And then if they have any questions, I ask if you have any questions, and they could ask me, one of our buddies.
Yeah. So sounds like you meet a practical need, but you also then have the moment of sharing and invitation.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yes.
all of those things are done in love
Hmm.
so that, they're not feeling bombarded,
Hmm.
but they're feeling supported in that moment. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, I just saw an unfortunate incident the other day of, um, I'm also very passionate about advocacy for disabilities. And I saw this incident the other day on a podcast, a Christian podcast, and they were making fun. The comments were ruthless, like of all Christians, just making fun of someone that's struggling with a disability. And I was like, this is just not okay. Like, you're a Christian first before you try to make people laugh. You definitely don't do it if you're gonna, through disabilities. So that's one thing as a Christian. And then I look at moments like that too, and I'm like, that's who I don't want to be. So then I'm like, all right, how can I show love? How can I show kindness? And I'll just, maybe people have experienced that, before, where they've been made fun of in the church, or they felt so unloved and so unaccepted, or, been to places that just kept on telling them over and over again, like, you're going to go to hell. And then they just felt like they were a horrible person and there's no saving them. But you have to remind people that they're so wonderful. They're worthy. God made them. God knows you. Like you said, he'll chase you down. He'll find you, and yeah, so that's just love. I always encourage love. Just love one another. Like, you, like, because when people are not perfect, I'm not perfect. And if I was to just go out and judge everyone, like, what does that say about myself? I can't be all high and mighty like that. Like, So just approach with an understanding, really. What Jesus would do. That's where WWJD comes in handy. Very, it comes in handy so much.
Yeah. Even without the bracelet, just like living it
Mhm.
with, yeah. And that's what I hear. I hear that you are modeling how Jesus would have met with them, how he would have spoken with them, how he would have loved them and invited them to follow him, right? Not the like y'all are going to go to hell. Y'all aren't going to make it, but the invitation to commune with him. And you have that moment with them, the invitation, and you get to choose. Either way, I'm going to love you in this moment, but you get to choose how you feel and what you want to do. And I think that's beautiful. I think it's very humble, right?
Mhm.
It's living from that place of humility, that we are called to live from and to operate from, especially in this world, the way
Mhm.
that things are. But so I love that. I love the compassion that you have for a group and a population of people that rarely receive that. And I think that's why it's so powerful, is because especially homeless individuals, all of them. But when I think about what I see, compassion is what they're looking for. When we're all trying to kind of look the other direction, of like,
Mhm.
I can't do anything about that.
Mhm.
But to be invisible and to be so visible at the same time
Mhm.
is, like, I think it's emotionally damaging.
Yeah.
Right? It's very
Yeah.
emotionally damaging because we see
Mhm.
them,
Yeah.
yet we act as though we don't see them. And what does that do to our emotional well-being,
Mhm.
to have that experience, right? And even, some already having mental health struggles, many of them. So what does that do? And I think you provide us with an opportunity to know how to proceed with compassion, and to
Mhm.
um not ignore,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
not.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And then there's, people who say like, "Well, I don't wanna give them money. They're gonna use it on drugs." And I'm like, "Okay, so then don't give them money. Why don't you if that's you feel uncomfortable with that, then, then go ask if they need anything from the store. Do they need socks?" Sometimes what I do is I just carry around, like, a bunch of food and stuff. And, I've only had one person yelling at me, and it was because I didn't have pizza. Understandable. I think I would have yelled too. I had a peanut butter jelly sandwich, not pizza.
Yeah.
So, that was the only instance I ever had where it was like, "Whoa." But, so I don't really want people to be scared either, but that's, I guess, something that maybe what someone has to learn, because they're people, they're humans, you know?
Absolutely.
Um Uh, yeah. Um, then I mean, and also it's just as much as I'm I'm talking about helping uh them, they also help me. Like there's so many connections that I was able to form, where they're just really caring and kind, and mental health not receiving the right services or other things led to the moment. Parents a bit like when the next time a listener, someone sees someone on the street, someone that's maybe struggling with addiction or homelessness, just say you don't know the circumstance. Everyone has their own journey. You
Mhm.
know, there's someone that was kicked out of their house at 16, in which then led to a pimp like trying and then just wasn't able to get off the streets since. But what you can do is you can provide resources if they would like,
Yeah.
and then you could ask if they want a prayer, um and just do all things in love.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll attach some resources, including your page, um, for the listeners after this is over for both homelessness and sex trafficking. So if there's things you want to share with us or with me, please do, so that I can also share to the audience so that they have some resources. But one question that did come across my mind is, when going back to sex trafficking for a minute, and I know time is moving, but I wanted to ask, what do we look for? What are we looking for?
All right.
If yeah, what are we looking for if we think that it may be happening? Or yeah, help us. What do we look for?
All right. So it can depend on what age, but so I guess we'll start a little bit younger.
Yeah.
So if you see like a young person, maybe in high school, like that age, because it can happen even younger, it can happen in elementary school where it's disgusting that the parent, usually it's by someone, um, but when some things to look out for. Okay, if someone is not doesn't look like they have like the best dressed clothing or anything like that, but then all of a sudden they start getting like the newest phones, they start getting, really expensive jewelry, things like that, or because that's like a pimp or someone being like, here's your reward, I want you to trust me. Someone that's younger that has a really older like boyfriend, or that's the person that's going to end up, trying to drag them in. Uh, what's their also in regards to physical appearance, like do they look well kept, or it depends, because sometimes people can be well kept because that's the way that the pimp wants them to look, but or others, sometimes the pimps or who's ever prostituting them out and trafficking them just does not care, and um could be wearing the same clothes every day in school and things like that, and um because the parents are just like neglecting the child. So another thing that is a very, very promising sign of trafficking are tattoos. They're like the branding of the pimp and trafficker. So I've seen it on people. Usually each trafficker has like their own little. Sometimes it's a barcode in like an area that's visible, but not so much. So
Right.
sometimes like the neck, chest, yeah, they like to brand the person. You're my property, and so that's something else to look for. Well, I'm trying to think. So it was barcode tattoos. Then sometimes it's like a flower with the trafficker's name, or a lot of like crowns. Like, so those are like popular ones. What else to look for? Just sometimes when there's um also not all the time, but when someone kind of starts using drugs like almost instantly and they never seemed like a sudden change in behavior, you
Yeah.
know, that's something there. And then if we're going on to the homelessness addiction area, it's really, honestly, I would say that like that that a lot of the people who are this is making me sad. Sorry, so like a lot of people that are homeless, the women population, it's they've definitely come in contact with some sort of sexual assault, especially the women. I'm not saying that the men aren't, because they're certainly trafficked as well. But for looking on the streets, seeing if sometimes there will be someone lingering, like a pimp or John, they'll be lingering there. Um, if the woman or man is on in an area where it's popular traffic to get Johns, then there will usually be like someone, a guy in the far distance, kind of just watching. And yes, that's the stuff that I would always look for. Like the tattoos was a big thing, I would
Yeah,
say.
that blows my mind. Yeah,
Yeah, sad. It really is. It's just another control technique, you
right,
know.
right. My goodness. So when we do suspect, we just call 911, or is there a different process?
So what I usually do, um, it differs from like when I'm in the session and then
Mhm.
um outside. So when if I'm in a session, I definitely try to like pry more. Um, Pry sounds kind of like a strong word, but like, I try to just say, like what's this? What's this family dynamic going on? Um, and then take like action from there. When I'm outside, a lot of people don't want cops involved. So um I give the resources, or if they do, I say, do you want me to call the cops? And then I'll give them all their resources that they need. Um, yeah, well, that's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, no, it's uh, and I ask only because in my brain I'm thinking, well, do I just immediately report it because I don't know that they're going to say that this is what's happening, and that may be if I'm out and I see something, or but I hear like asking and exploring a little bit,
Mhm.
uh, and then also providing resources, which gathering those together. I think those are good to have. And actually, I think it would be beautiful if churches could have those resources and that sort of thing. So when they are having youth programs and groups and things like that, they're able to share that information, not just with youth, but definitely with youth.
Mhm.
So it puts in my mind now to do some work,
Mhm.
to explore some resources in our area. Um,
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing that I forgot that is like the most important part to mention. Call a human trafficking hotline, and you can definitely do that.
okay.
Um, if it's suspected, call the call the human trafficking hotline, and then they'll give you like further steps of what you need to do. So definitely report it.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of wrap up. We're almost at the hour, but I wanted to just kind of ask you if there is, because you shared a lot about your heart and what you do, and just kind of if there are kind of last words for the audience, your hope, your mission, what you'd like to encourage or inspire them to do, and where they can find you, provide your platform information too.
Yeah. So, well, I'm Hope Change Inspire. So you can find me on Instagram at Hope Change Inspire. Uh, just the words. There's no like dashes or anything. Um, I would like if anyone wants to DM me, and I'm always open for suggestions for partnerships or things like that. So anyone could DM me if they're looking for resources or help. I have some on my page. There's a lot more resources um, out there than you may think. It's just sometimes it's difficult to find. And if you're looking for like a quick resource, sometimes it's like, no, there are none. But no, there's some that I could provide um that they're a little bit more hidden, but I was thankfully enough that I know that they're useful. And if anyone is from the New York City area, Christmas is coming up. Usually I do like a kind of a Christmas giving type of situation where we walk from either Penn or Grand Central to the tree, and then give out little Christmas gifts to people that are without homes. So if anyone's in the New York City area and wants to join me, or even if you're not and you want to make that trip, I definitely am all for it. I love doing that. The more the merrier. And you can make a difference, just because you may not think, oh, well, I'm helping this one person, that's it. No, because that person can help that person, can help that person. Change starts somewhere. So just remember um, to love one another. what would Jesus do? And yes, so I think that's what I would like to end on. Love is so important. Love
Yes.
is so important.
Yes. I think it is. I mean, it's not only it's a commandment. I mean, it is what we are called to do every day in spite of, whatever we're
Mhm.
experiencing or enduring, because sometimes we are enduring.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful that you and I had the opportunity to connect and have a dialogue. And I'm definitely going to tap in and get some resources from you, so that I can help in whatever ways that I can. Because I think it's a mission that homelessness is definitely something I often think about and have, created bags and things for. But the link between homelessness and sex trafficking, and not really thinking about the circumstances, because I think that's the part, right? Not thinking about the circumstance as to why they are homeless.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just like, oh, they're homeless, they need something.
Mhm.
But a lot of them, it sounds like this is part of their reality. And so I appreciate you bringing that to light on this platform, Faith, Love, and Therapy. And I don't think this will be our last time. I hope it won't be our last time that we can, have a discussion again.
Mhm.
But you all definitely connect with Raquel so that we can continue to help her make a bigger impact. She's already making a great impact, I'm certain, but we can help contribute to what she's already doing in New York. And maybe we'll do something in Virginia. We'll see how that comes along.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that would be great. I appreciate you being here. And to all our listeners, I thank you for listening to another episode, and I will see you next time.